got to start recording so we have it. Now on this side, when x is bigger than minus 1, y is bigger than 3. So how would I
Yeah.
write this bracket but on this side?
This bracket on this side, -1, comma, positive infinity.
Yeah, and make sure it's round brackets because
Yeah.
round brackets
But why is it
means
-4?
you're right. Sorry. Round brackets means don't include the -1
Yeah.
because that's not what we're looking for.
So
And
negative 0, 1.0. No, so negative
no, you don't bother. You
1.
don't
Yeah.
bother. This rounded bracket means above minus 1.
Yeah. And I was going to say like a really small value away from negative
No,
1.
because then you're ignoring other small values that are
Yeah.
smaller than the value
I
you're
know.
getting.
Yeah.
So it's easier just to do it this way.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, number lines are a thing, but let me just show you a handy, easy way of doing number lines that it's less headache. So I just got to pull up, let's see if I have it easy. I think I had it very quickly just here. Absolute value, yeah, there we go. Absolute value instructions and steps. So we'll just click that one and we'll click that one. So we'll skip non-zeros for now. I want you to notice a pattern. When we see this, the first step we're going to notice is the number in question on either side of 0? So let's get it a little bit larger and see. Are the numbers in question? So it's clear we're studying these red lines, right?
Yeah.
So is this number the positive version of that number? Are they the same number? Can you see?
Isn't that 9?
7, 8,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
9. So that's plus 9 and looks like it's included. So it's
Yeah.
x is bigger or equal to plus 9. What's this one? There's a negative 8.
-9.
Right, so x is all this red line.
Smaller or equal
Yeah.
to.
Now, here's how you do absolute value. This is really easy when the 0 is... What's the number right in between 9 and -9?
Um, Not 0. 0.
Yeah, when the numbers are the same, the number in between is 0. You can also add them together and divide by 2. And that's how you find the number in between.
Yeah, I was doing that, which is why I took a bit longer.
Right. Now let's just focus on this right side. When it's like this, when the center is 0, the rule is very easy when we want to come up with the equation. What's this right side say? What did you say it says?
X larger and equal to negative, then a positive 9.
Right. And then when you follow that, when you find that, all you do is you slap an absolute value there. Now it will work for both sides. Try it
What's an
out.
absolute value again?
Absolute value means whatever x we put in here gets turned positive.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's say I take minus 8 in there. It becomes positive. Is 8 bigger or equal to 9?
Yeah, it is.
No,
Yeah.
it isn't.
No, 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 it's not. Yeah.
Which is why it's not on the number line.
Yeah.
Now we take 9 minus 9 and it becomes positive 9. Is positive 9 bigger or equal to positive 9?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
that's
equal
why
to.
it's on the number line.
Yeah.
And then if we take minus 10, it goes through and it becomes positive 10. Is positive 10 bigger or equal to positive
Yes,
9?
it is.
Yes, which is why negative 10 is over here on the number line. So you can see this method works. When we have 0 in the center, focus on the right equation and just slap an absolute value on it. The reverse works too. When they give you an absolute value of x is bigger or equal to 9, you put the dots on the 9 and the minus 9, and bigger or equal, just draw the right side. Since it's going right, the left side's going to be going left. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes
That's a
sense.
super easy way of coming up with both the equation from the graph and the graph from the equation, but it only works when we have x is bigger than a number or when the graph, the 0, is in the center. Notice the second one is a similar scenario, except that the number line is between the two dots, right? Can you tell me the numbers that are shown at the ends of that red line?
Uh, 5 and -5.
Yeah, so they're opposite ends, aren't they?
Yeah,
What's
so
the
it's
number in the
0.
middle?
That's
0.
0.
So focus on this left side. That empty circle means we're not including the 5. So we're looking at all the x's to the left of 5. How would I write that?
Um,
X
X
is...
smaller than -5.
No, I said I asked you to
Positive.
focus on the right side always of these equations.
Oh, okay.
So how would you describe this point?
X smaller than 5.
Okay, so we would write X smaller than 5, and then we just slap an absolute value line on top of the X.
Yeah.
Like that. Ignore that X floating up there. Let's test it out. Pick a value that's outside of 5, above 5 or below -5.
Uh, 6.
6. Puts it in absolute values, becomes 6. Is 6 smaller than 5?
Yes.
No, it isn't. 6 is
No,
not
right.
smaller than 5,
Damn it.
which is why
Yeah.
it's not on the
Yeah, it's not.
graph. Now take a number that's below 5 or above -5.
4.
So try taking a negative number.
Yeah, -1.
-1. So we put -1 in there, it becomes positive. We get +1
It is
smaller than
smaller.
5, and that's why it's that -1 is on the number line. So this
Yes.
system works, but only if you can repeat it. I'm going to give you a couple of numbers, see if you've been paying attention. You kind of drifted a bit. First question you should ask yourself is, are the numbers that I'm showing exactly between 0? So I'll do that. And I'll do a couple over here. Then I'm going to draw a little circle here. I'm going to draw a little circle here. And then I'm going to imply that my line's going to the left in red and to the right in red, even though it faded there, like that and like that. And I'm going to put a -4 here and a 4 here. I'm going to ask you the first question. Does 0 fall between them?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm going to tell you to do the second thing. Second, focus on the right side.
Hmm.
Okay. 3,
There.
describe the right side using X is bigger or smaller than whatever.
X is bigger than 4.
Right. So we got X is bigger than 4. And then you simply step 4, slap an absolute value on it.
Yeah.
On
So
the X.
6.
And then
Negative
5. What?
-6.
What? What are you doing?
Next, slap an absolute value on the X.
Yes. Oh, and then you're going to test it out. Okay. Test it out. So then I didn't know what you were doing with -6. Okay. So you're throwing -6 in there. What does it become?
+6.
Is
So it's
+6 bigger than 4?
yeah.
Which means -6 should be on the red line. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Right. So your formula works for that -6. Find a number between that should not work.
2.
2. Is 2 bigger than 4?
No.
And it's right there, right? So that's why it's not on the number line. So far it still works. Then 5 is obviously bigger than 4, and it's on the red line here. So your formula appears to work.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a formula. You tell me how I draw the lines. Ready? I'm going to give
Yeah,
you
sure.
X is smaller or equal to 9. An absolute value on it. Like that.
Yeah.
What do I do? How do I draw it?
So it's to the left of 9. So
Yeah.
you draw like a filled in circle, filled in dot
Where?
on 9.
So I create a 9 and I fill it in.
Yeah.
So that's probably 8 there, and that's a 10 there.
Yeah. And then you just draw an arrow to the
That way.
left.
Where do I stop?
-9.
That's right. So down here at -9, I have to also solid it in. And
Yeah.
put -8 and -10 on either side. And that should work. How do we make sure it works?
You pick an absolute
Well,
value. You
no,
pick a
no.
value.
You pick any value that should be on the line and should not be on the line.
Yeah. So 10 and
10.
8.
So is 10 smaller or equal to 9?
No.
That's why it's not on the line.
Yeah.
And
Is 8. 8 is
you should try
smaller.
-8 because that's, that way
-8.
you're
Yeah.
testing the absolute value.
Yeah. At -8. So
Becomes
it's
what?
8. Yeah. It is smaller and equal to 9.
And is it
So
on your line?
yes.
Then your formula works, right?
Yeah.
Great. I want you to tell me the formula for this number line. Ready?
Hmm.
Tell me the steps that you have to look for. Hang on. That's supposed to be a solid circle. By the way, you can never have something that's going this way and then another one that's joining it somehow. It just
Uh,
doesn't work. Okay?
yeah, okay.
How do I make the formula? First
Um,
step, you got to make sure what?
you have to make sure that um, it is even, the zero is in the middle of
That's
both of
right.
them.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
And if you're not sure, you can add them together and divide by 2, and you
Midpoint
should
theorem.
get
Yeah.
0. Good. That's the first one.
Yeah, and then now you already have the two absolute values. So
No, I don't. I always said focus on
the right side,
so
yeah.
just focus on how to interpret this.
Yeah, okay, so x is larger or equal to 1.
Great. Now what do I do?
Now you test it
No,
out.
you haven't.
No, now
Do
you
you
do
see?
the other side.
No. Do you see an absolute value? You don't have to do the other side.
Oh, oh,
You don't have to
yeah,
do the
no.
other side. You just have to do the right
Oh.
side. And then what?
And then you draw two lines to the,
Then you put
yeah,
an absolute value on it. It will now work for the left side.
yeah.
That was a bit of a failure. So let's try it again. We're going to do -3 and up here to +3, and they're going to be joined. Focus on the right side. First, what's the first thing you got to look for?
X is
No, the
smaller or
first
equal.
thing you got to look for is if
Oh,
it's
yeah,
0.
0, yeah.
Right.
Then X is smaller or equal to 3.
Yeah, you focus on the right side only. And then what?
Yeah. And then you put an absolute value over
And you
it.
should be done. After that, you test it out.
Yeah.
But this will work every time. It
Yes.
allows you to focus on the right side, just solve the right side, and then slap an absolute value. It works whether it's going that way or that way, whether it's a circle or a solid. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, you're going to have to reverse that too. Like when you see x is smaller or equal to 6, absolute value x, you're going to have to draw a line, put a 6, put a -6, and because it says
Yeah.
x is smaller than 6, you would go solid all the way between the two. And because it's equal, you put a solid circle. There's two ways to describe this function notation, or two ways to describe this. There's this. There's 3, actually. I'll make this a bit bigger. Turn that off, Gabriel.
What?
Whatever's buzzing. I don't know what was buzzing.
Oh, yeah, it's the fan.
Okay, so there's that, right? That's one way. There's the way we just did it, which is the absolute value. I know there's a symbol somewhere on here, but I can't be bothered to find it. I don't know where it is. I don't know why that's coming up either. We'll just do that. That's another way. And here's the last way. Explain this last way to me.
The last one. Oh, wait, isn't it supposed to be a square bracket?
Yeah, you might be right. It's supposed to be a square bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, so the square bracket means that it's larger or smaller or equal to that value and not just larger and smaller than.
Yeah.
That means it's uh, larger equal to -6 and smaller equal to 6.
Yeah,
So just,
which is kind of the
you know,
shorter
what we
way of
did.
writing that, right?
Yeah.
There's essentially an invisible x in between here,
Yeah.
and they're saying these values are in between, are on the outside of it, right?
Yeah.
One's bigger than the x and one's smaller than the x. Okay, those are the 3 ways of notation you're going to need to know. Now, the next way to do it is for values that are not 0. It's a little bit more complicated. For values where the center's not 0, but it's not too different, okay?
Yeah.
It's the same rules. First of all, how do we find the value that's in between two numbers when it's not 0? How do you find the middle ground between any
So
two
do the
numbers?
midpoint theorem. So just add the 2 and divide by 2.
Yeah, so I got -14 and -6. Tell me what I get.
-10.
Yeah, so the midpoint is?
-10.
Great, there it is. So if the lines are connected, we're looking for smaller then. If they're not connected, in other words, if they went this way, it would be bigger then. But the lines appear connected, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
So we found the middle number, right?
Yeah.
And there's the rule. Take two numbers and add them together and divide by 2. Find out the distance from 10 to the edge. So it doesn't matter which way you go, which edge. You might as well go to the right. How much distance is there?
Um, 4.
4. And if you weren't sure of the numbers, you can just take the positive values of each. 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that number goes on the right of equation like this. Instead of smaller equals that, you know how we had the smallers equals to the edge? We're going to do the smallers equals of the distance to that line. So we write this. First of all, why is it smaller then? Because the lines are connected. So we know it's going to be to the left of some number and to the right of some number. And we're focusing on the right side of the equation. And you might say, why is it not smaller or equal to minus 6? And we'll get to that in a second. The second rule, what do you have to add or subtract to minus 10 to reach 0? So how would I get from minus 10 to the 0 value?
Uh,
What do I
10.
10? I'd have to add 10. So you're going to
Yeah.
slap plus 10 in there. So the first step is find how much distance there is after you find the middle value. There's
Yeah.
4. Make it x is smaller than or bigger than, depends which way the lines are. The next step is find the distance between your middle point and 0.
Yeah.
If you have to add 10 to get to 0, it becomes x plus 10. If you had to subtract 10 to get to 0, it would be x minus 10. Good enough?
Yeah, good enough.
Great. And the last step, slap an absolute value on it. Let's see if that works. Pick a number line that's outside of this red line on the left.
20. Negative 20.
All right. Negative 20 plus 10 is what?
Negative 10.
And then you got to absolute value that once you solve it.
Yeah, so it becomes 10.
Is 10 smaller or equal to 4?
No.
That's why it's not on that number
Yeah.
line. Pick a number that would fall between minus
10.
14 and minus
Negative
6.
10.
What? Pick something
Negative
other than the
10.
middle because you want to be checked to see if the
Okay,
edge
negative
works.
7.
Negative 7, kind of near 6. Okay. What happens when I add 10? So if I take negative 7 and I add 10 to it,
3. It becomes 3.
it becomes positive 3, and then it gets absolute valued.
So it's still positive 3.
Is 3 smaller or equal to 4?
Yes.
That's why it is indeed on the number line. If you wanted to test the exact number line, take the actual number line. What's this number here?
6.
No. Minus 6.
Oh, minus 6. Okay.
So put it in there. What's minus 6 plus 10?
4.
And 4 absolute valued is 4. Is
Yeah,
4
so it's equal
smaller or
to.
equal to 4? Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Which is why it's a solid line. And if I were to take minus 5, I would discover minus 5 plus 10 makes 5. And 5 is not smaller or equal to 4, which is why
Yeah.
it's outside. Let's see if that works. Test it out. You always want to test out the values. And then finally, what if you have an equation? How do I draw it? Okay, well, it's the reverse steps. Step 1, remove the absolute value bars. What do I get from here? I get this, right?
Yeah.
Step 2, solve for x. How do I solve for x? How do I get x all alone here?
X, you add both 5 to both
Yeah, I
sides.
get x is bigger equal to 12.
Yeah.
Step 3, put a solid circle around 12 because it's bigger or equal to 12, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if that works. Hang on. I don't think I drew that one. Step 4, draw the line outwards because it's bigger than. Oh, yeah, there it is over there. So I worked on the right side of it, right?
Yeah.
How do I solve the left side? Okay. This is the weird part. Take the absolute value off again, but this time change the symbol and put a negative at the number. So we started with this. We take the
Yes.
absolute value off. We change the symbol. What's the symbol going to say?
The symbol is going to say larger, smaller, equal to. Yeah, because you're snap.
But then we also have to take the 7 and change it to negative.
What?
You'll see in a second.
Okay.
Because we're on the left side now. We're on the
Yeah,
left
yeah.
side. It's got to be smaller or equal. So you just follow the rules for solving and it'll work every time. Okay, now you solve for x. How do I solve from x from here?
Um, Now you just So add 5 to both
Right,
sides.
I get that.
Yeah, and then you get -2,
And it
minus
says,
1.
okay, put a solid circle at -2 and draw to the left because it's smaller or equal to -2.
Yeah.
And that will work every time. So I'll send you these steps. We're going to go straight to the book now.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot. But you can see they start you off right away with just single lines. So what's this one?
3, -1. So it just goes in one
Yeah, it's
direction.
just one line. They didn't do
It's to
two.
infinity,
So it's x is smaller or equal
to
to,
negative infinity.
no, x is smaller or equal to,
6 are smaller or equal to negative to 3.
yeah. What's this one? There's an empty circle on
X
it.
is larger than -1.
Right. Suddenly we have a
10.
line that's got two things on it.
Yeah.
This one.
So
So
X
first of
is
all, just follow the rules every time. So the first rule is zero in between?
no.
So how do we find what's in between?
So add the two values. So 2 is in between. No, 1 is in between.
Yep. So mark it.
Yeah.
Second step. Do you remember the second step? One. Find
Yeah,
number
you
in
focus
between.
on the right side.
No, no, not quite. Find the
Oh,
distance
oh yeah. Find the
from your
distance.
middle number to zero.
So 6.
No, to zero. Oh yeah, distance to the edge.
Yeah,
You're right.
middle.
To the edge. Yeah. How much?
Yeah. 6.
6. 3. Let's see what it was. Find the distance from 1. Yeah, then you just do this. So we're looking for smaller than 7. So we're going to say smaller. Is it a solid circle around the 7?
Yes.
So we're going to say
Smaller
smaller
equals.
equal to 6, not the 7, because
Oh
we
yeah,
discovered
6.
6 is the distance to it. Now, the third step is find out how far it is from 1 to 0. How would I have to turn the 1 into a 0? What would I have to do?
Uh,
Add or subtract from 1 to make it a 0? Why
you
1? Because that's my middle point. Why 0?
subtract
Because our
1.
normal graphs are
Aren't you
0.
supposed to say x plus 1 is smaller or equal to 7? So then
No, you're
when you
not,
subtract
because
1
that would
6.
be true if 0 was our center line, but 0 is not our center line.
Oh,
We're finding the distance, and that is what we're going to start with right
okay.
there. Okay? Follow the steps. Now, how far, what do I have to do to 1 to make
1
it a
to
0?
0. So 1. So we subtract 1.
So I have to take x and subtract 1 from it. So that's the
Yeah.
next step. So on the next line, I would write this, x minus 1. Final step, slap an absolute value graph on it, like that. Test
Okay.
it out. See if it works for me.
Um, 1. No, 2.
2. So you pick this one right here. It should come out as yes. 2
Yeah.
minus 1 is 1. Is 1 smaller or
1.
equal to 6?
Yeah.
All right. Pick a more
Okay.
challenging one, like minus
-4.
5 or minus
The minus
5.
5 doesn't work though.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Minus 4. Minus 4 minus 1 is what? And
-5.
then it gets absolute valued. So
So it
it's
is smaller. Wait, but then if we pick -5, then it also works, but it shouldn't work.
oh yeah, because I've got smaller equals here, and I shouldn't have had the
Yeah.
equals. That's all. It should
But
just be
then the
six.
others, but it should work
Yeah,
for the
but
other side.
one of them should be empty. You cannot have what they have here. You can't have an empty and a solid. So
Yeah,
that's either a
you can't
text
express it. Yeah.
that's either a textbook error, or
They didn't.
they just want you to describe it.
Yeah,
So
they just want you to describe
in this
it.
case, they just want us to describe it. But I'm trying to get to the formula if it worked.
Yeah.
So in this case, they want to tell you x is smaller than minus 5 is smaller than x, which is smaller or equal to 7. We couldn't create an absolute value for that. I didn't notice that they were just mixing and matching. Okay. What about this one? Graph of two parabolas with their equations are given. For graph A, write inequalities for the value of x and for which this graph is above the x-axis.
Yeah.
Where's this graph above the x-axis?
When x is smaller than -5,
Yeah.
and when x is larger than 3.
Yeah, so when x is smaller than -5, y is bigger than 0.
Yeah.
And then when x is bigger than 3, y is bigger than
It's
0.
bigger than 0.
Now, how would you do that as an absolute value line? So first of all,
Hmm.
you've got to graph it. How would I graph that on a number line? So what's my rightmost? What did you tell me my
Should put
rightmost was?
in
What do you tell
three,
me? Okay, just start with the logic. 3. And you said
three,
it's
and
bigger than, right?
yeah, bigger than. So you
And
draw
not
to
including,
infinity.
right? Not including.
Yes, not
So
including.
that's how we got to draw that.
Yeah.
Let's first find the leftmost edge. You said what?
Isn't that the rightmost edge?
That was the rightmost
Yeah, that
edge.
was the rightmost edge.
Find the leftmost edge.
Negative
So
5.
that means -5. Would I put a solid circle or a hollow circle?
Hollow circle.
Right. And I go which way?
To the left.
Yeah, you're never going to join a circle that's going to the right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is 0 my center?
No.
How do I find my center?
Uh, 2. So it's -1.
So -1 is my center. Let's see if you can remember the steps to figure it out. You just got
Yes,
to
and then
follow the
find the
steps.
distance between.
Yeah, go one step at a time.
Yes.
Find the distance.
Yes. So and then 2. No, 4.
4. So the distance is 4. Where does that go in my equation if I'm doing
On
this?
the right side.
4, yeah. Do I do a bigger than? What sign do I
Bigger
put?
than.
Yeah, because we're working with the right side. Great.
Yeah.
Now I've got to do what? That's the center point.
Now, yeah. Now you find the distance between 0 and the center.
Well,
So.
no, you got to ask yourself, what do I have to add or subtract from -1?
Oh, you add 1. Yeah.
So I got to add 1. Now what do I do?
And now you put an absolute value
Yeah.
over it.
Now we're going to see if it works.
Yeah.
Now 3 should produce just on the edge, right? So 3 plus 1 is 4.
I mean, 3 shouldn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. 3 because it's an empty circle.
Yeah.
But it does tell you 3 plus 1 is?
3 plus 1 is 4.
If
So
4 is bigger than
that's
4,
the edge.
so
Yeah.
that's the edge, right?
4 isn't bigger
now
than
we should try -5 to see if we got the right edge, right?
No.
So what is -5 plus 1?
No, -4. So
And
4.
it's absolute
Yeah.
valued, so it's 4 bigger than 4, the same
No.
situation.
Yeah.
We're right on the edge, which is right because there's an empty circle there.
Uh,
If you follow these steps or learn these steps, this very confusing section of the course, which serves very little value,
yeah.
is very easy to do, and you want to learn these steps because you don't want to lose marks.
Yeah. We barely covered it today. Because we had a quiz and then like the remaining 20 minutes
You
we
know he's
spent.
going to put it on the test.
Oh, he's definitely going to be on the test. I
Yeah.
talked to another teacher. Apparently, my math teacher is like infamous for being really hard on his students. No apparent reason. So, oh well.
I don't think it really helps in high school. It might help in
No, it
university,
doesn't.
but I don't think it helps in high school.
No, he doesn't even post the notes, like the answers to the notes. He's like, "Oh, if you missed it, well, tough luck."
Yeah, that's awful. Now, what are they asking here?
For graph B, write inequalities for the values of x.
Now, should we skip this because your teacher barely covered it? What was his homework assigned?
Hang on.
Because there's a lot of inequalities in the homework.
Yeah, I don't know why there's so much. We barely did anything today. We just did the quiz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hang on. Two 2.4 is about families. So.
2.4 is about families, yeah, but we're not on 2.4, are we? I thought you said
Yeah,
we
no,
were
we're
on
not.
2.5.
No, we're on 2.5. Oh, yeah. 11, 10, 9 CF. Yeah, there really isn't anything work for this.
11, 10, what?
11, 10, 9 CF.
So what should we do, right? What
8B, and then 6D.
Okay, 11, 10, 9 CF. And
Yeah.
then what? 6A
No, 6D and 8B.
and 8B. So which number do you think we should do first that we've always...
11.
Yeah, that's right. See if we can do 11. If we can't, we'll go to 10. Read 11 for me. Oh, it's a real...
Numbered n in hundreds of 10 caterpillars infesting a forested area after its weeks can be modeled by the function that...
Okay,
of
stop.
that.
When you go too fast like that and you just kind of blur it out, I get it because it's a stupid question. But we got to sort of understand what they're... First of all, let's look at the graph they gave us. What kind of graph is that?
It's a quartic.
Yes, and is it starting in the normal area?
It's negative, so it's flipped.
Negative. So instead of doing this, it's going to do this and whatever. It could have a maximum of 3 turning points and 4 x-intercepts.
Yeah.
And then let's ask what this would model. Well, if I was looking at caterpillars and it's the number of caterpillars in the hundreds, so at the end I have to multiply by 100, This is telling these caterpillars are going to potentially go up again, and then down. But they will go down because the rightmost of my cortic must
Yeah. It
go
must,
down.
yeah, it must go back to quadrant four.
Yeah, so it must eventually this caterpillar population must decrease. So
Yeah.
what's the first question?
When is the tent caterpillar population greater than 10,000?
How would I solve that? And it's greater than. How do I
You
solve that?
set um, uh, the 10,000 on the y side, like
Yep,
NT,
that's right.
and then you set it to larger than. So no,
Yeah, now
smaller than the
there's
actual
one
equation.
small step we missed that your teacher would take marks off, and it's in the first 5 words of the question.
The number n in, oh, yes, yes.
So they gave us a 10,000,
The
and
100.
yeah, I got to take 2 zeros off.
Yeah.
So we put that on the side of the
And
question,
smaller than,
and we got to say, when is the 10 caterpillar greater than
yeah.
10,000?
So 100 smaller than, yeah.
So we got to do
Yeah.
this,
That,
and we got to put the equation on the left, right?
yeah.
Okay. What do I do next to solve it? I've said you can't solve equations that are set out towards a number.
And then we add 100 on both, and just subtract both 100 on both sides.
Yeah, so we're looking for what's something bigger than 0, even though we're
Yeah.
really solving it for 100. Obviously, we got a problem here because we've got a tough
Quartic.
quartic to solve, and you should not do a synthetic substitution or division with a negative number. So what should we actually do with this negative?
Factor out the
Yeah, and
negative.
essentially we're just going to change all the signs, right?
Yeah.
Change all the signs, and I'm going to steal the negative like this, and I'm going to put it here and here, and I'm going to steal the positive here and here, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to forget to put that negative, that last positive.
Yeah.
Okay?
So,
And then
yeah.
this negative is outside. It's outside the equation. I now have to find a value that will give me a remainder of 0.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Uh, Start testing out factors.
Yeah, but what's the fastest way we've discovered other than using a computer for testing out?
Synthetic
Right, so
division.
give me the numbers in front of those.
Uh, 1, negative
Yeah,
5, negative 5, negative 6, and
yeah,
100.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And you kind of know at the end we've got to come up with a fairly big number.
Yeah, so it's definitely not 1 or 2.
Yeah. Now, also, we know it's got to be a negative 100 at the end, right?
Yeah.
So that means that number down there, it all depends. So it's really hard to figure out. So it's definitely not 1, you say. Let's figure that out.
Well, it's not, I mean, you can see. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
I
way
know,
it
I
ends
know.
up.
So you're going to add, and that becomes negative 9, and then negative 9. And then when you add
Yeah.
negative 15, doesn't quite make it. So we're looking at negative 15 when it's 1. So we're probably looking at a 3, a 4.
Yeah. Let's try 3.
Okay, I would have tried 4 because 4 goes into 100.
Oh, yeah, let's try 4.
Okay, 4. You tell me what to do now.
Okay, so pull the 1 down,
Yeah.
multiply that by 4, add that. So negative 1, multiply that by 4 becomes negative 4, add that, and becomes negative 1 again. Okay,
Oh,
negative 9. Wait.
adding 2 negative numbers becomes negative 5 plus negative 4, which becomes negative 5
Oh,
minus
yeah,
4,
negative 9, yeah.
which is minus 9. Yeah.
9, so it becomes negative 36.
Okay, negative 36. Now we got to
So
add
that,
negative 6.
and it doesn't work, yeah.
Almost, though. What's another version of 4 that we should take?
Negative
Or
4.
possibly even 2, right? So we'll try negative 4. Walk me through that.
So same, that just becomes negative. Okay.
Do it. I want you to walk me
Yeah,
through it.
negative 4. So that becomes negative 4, and then you add the 2, that becomes negative 9. You multiply, it becomes 36. And that, you add the 2, that becomes 31. And then you multiply 100. Yeah, that doesn't work
It's not
either.
going to work. You can just stop. So we're probably actually looking for 2, right?
Yeah.
So we went too far, just assuming 4 was needed. So we should try which numbers of 2?
Positive
Yeah, let's
first.
start positive because it's easier. Okay, walk me through it.
That becomes 2, and then that becomes -3, so it becomes -6, so it becomes -11, so it becomes -22, so that doesn't work.
Negative 22 plus
It
that.
becomes
It seems like it's
28, yeah, it
close.
does work.
Seems like it's close. I should make sure we got the.
Let's try -2, yeah.
Yeah, we got to try -2, I think. We also have to make sure we have all our exponents. We're not missing
Yeah,
any.
we
Otherwise, I
do.
had to put an extra one in there. That's one trick I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to try -2. Kind of weird. Well, no, it makes sense because we'd be n minus 2, which means it would be n is equal to 2. No, it wouldn't be. It would be n plus 2. It's kind of weird to use a -2, but
I
anyway.
feel like a lot of the hardness from this chapter, like chapter 2 in general, just comes back to testing out factors and has very little to do with the actual contents of the sections.
Well, except that one thing I noticed with you last year and all my students is they have a very difficult time describing a graph that crosses this black line when it's not the x-axis.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why we reduce it down to the x-axis, and then we have to go back and say, oh yeah, but we're actually looking for when n is bigger than 100. And it's very important to understand what you're actually looking for. It's not always the factors, but that you got to return back to what you're looking for, which is bigger than 100. We should try, since I'm going to cheat a little bit, I suspect our number is very high, and I'm just going to cheat because I don't feel like putting you through it. But we keep hunting with the synthetic division, right?
Yeah.
And then
I think it might be -2.
it might be. It doesn't make sense to me that we'd have a negative number in this, except that finding a factor would help. And we'll feel bad if it was -2 and we didn't and we stopped there. And always make sure. Oh, I see a thing that screwed us up. What? Oh no, because I factored out the negative number.
Yeah.
So that means this. If I factor out the negative number here, I want to make sure I got all the right. Maybe I got the wrong negatives. So there, it should be negative. It should be positive, negative, 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 positive, positive, negative, 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 positive, and that's what we had when we searched for it.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm just going to cheat, and I'm going to put up my graph, and hopefully it won't bother me about f of t, and we're just going to find it. No, they weren't really easy to find.
What? They were impossible to find. Who
Yeah.
would guess 2.703 or something?
Yeah, let's make sure that I got everything right on there with the original question. So we're going to
Yes.
use the actual graph, and we're going to see when it's above 100. And we're actually going to make sure we got 100 greater than 10,000. Yeah, it should be. So we're going to use the actual graph. And I'm going to make sure, let's see if I can do it without doing that. There it is. Okay. Negative t to the 4
Plus 5t cubed.
and 5t squared. Okay, plus 5t cubed plus 5t squared plus 6t. And we're seeing when that is above 100. So we're going to set y is equal to 100. And we're going to go look at the graph. I'm going to see if we have the same shitty numbers. And
Yes,
they are the
yes,
same
we do.
shitty numbers.
Well, that's impossible to find. Nobody's going to guess
So we're supposed to use,
2.733.
I wonder if we're supposed to use graphing technology. I wonder if we just
I
missed
wonder
that.
if, I don't know, like, does it say use technology? Those are normally.
Yeah, hang on.
No, it doesn't. So that's not, I don't know.
I think you have to.
Yeah, nobody's going to find those numbers. They're not. Yeah, it's not 2.75, which would have been pretty shitty anyways, like
Maybe they made a
2.75.
mistake and they forgot that they put it in hundreds. Maybe we got to be looking at 10,000. Maybe they forgot that they described the caterpillar population
Oh,
in hundreds. So I'll put it way up. And
I mean, that seems kind of unprofessional. I mean, you're supposed to
there's
be
lots of
a textbook company.
There's lots of type Oh, no, there's lots of typos in these books. All right, so now we're going to go back to the graph, and we're going to just see if maybe those are better.
And it doesn't even touch it. Great.
No, yeah, look.
What?
It's got 0, 0. Oh, no, we got to look up. We got to look up at the 10th.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you're
were
right.
looking up. Yeah, it doesn't even touch it. Yeah.
Oh, that's bizarre, man.
Let's just ignore this question. I don't think. I think they just made a mistake
Maybe.
somewhere.
I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe they forgot to tell you got to use a graphing thing and just
Yeah,
describe it.
maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
It's kind of stupid. So it's on the way up when it first crosses it, on the way down when it does, and then it says what happens after 6. So there's the secret right there. The
Yeah.
second question is easily solved. Well, I think they screwed. I think you're supposed to use a graphing technology for that.
Yeah.
What will happen after 6 weeks?
So we just sub in 6
Yeah, we
for
sub in
G.
6, and we see what happens exactly at f of 6, right?
Yeah. I mean, that seems
And
pretty easy.
and we get this,
Yeah.
right, which tells us what happens after 6.
They all die out.
Yeah,
They go extinct.
right on the 6-week mark.
Well, yeah.
Definitely supposed to use graphing technology. They were this is kind of your teacher's move with a textbook. I don't, unless there's a secret that I'm missing.
Yeah, and the homework he gives doesn't like it has nothing to do with the actual test itself, I've discovered.
Well, this one does. Number 10.
Okay, yeah. But like the hardest question he gives, like it sometimes it just feels unfairly hard. It's not because of a mistake or it's just worded really weirdly. So I just panic because I wonder if that's going to be on the test.
I think you drew the bad stick of teachers.
Yeah, I did.
What kind of graph is this?
It's a parabola
Upside down or not?
upside down.
What happens at time 0?
Um, it's 0.2.
Right. So we got a tiny
So
height. So that's
yeah, so
off the golf tee, I think.
yeah, it's off the golf tee. It's propped up a bit.
So it's going up and then comes down.
Yeah.
What's the question?
It's asking when the height is greater than 15 meters.
Yeah, so
So
it's probably once here on the way up
yeah,
and once here on the way down.
yes. So
So
we
we
set that equation to be larger than 15,
yeah.
and then we subtract 15 from both sides.
Right. So what happens when I subtract 15 here?
So that becomes larger than 0.
But what happens here?
Oh yeah. Negative 14.8.
Squared plus 32t negative 14.8. Now,
Yeah,
I'm going to guess that if I divide everything by negative 4.9, I bet you they're all going to be dividable by it. Let's just see.
I don't think 32 is
No,
dividable.
it's not, but at least we can get the negative 9 out of there. And you know
Okay.
what we're probably supposed to do instead? Use the quadratic formula,
Yeah, probably.
right?
That does not look factorable.
No, it doesn't. And then so we might as well, because you're allowed to use the quadratic formula whether it's factorable or not. But this time I'm going to make you do calculator stuff with it. So there it is on the right. First of all, tell me your A.
Negative 4.9.
Right. So we got to have negative 4.9 as A. Okay. B.
Yeah, 32 is B.
See?
Negative 14.8.
Right. So we got to go over here and turn B negative. So we've got negative 32 plus. We're going to do one with plus, and we're going to do one with minus.
Yeah.
And then in the square root, what do we have? B squared,
B squared.
right? So 32
Yeah.
squared minus
Minus 4 times negative 4.9
so
times.
it's going to end up with a plus 4, because I might as well get rid of it now, right?
Yeah.
Times negative. Oh,
Negative.
it's going to be a negative.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. 14.8. Can you tell me what that is? Can you pull up a calculator and do it for me? 32
Okay.
squared minus, it's going to be minus 4 times 4.9. It's going to be a minus in front of it. So it's going to be minus 4 times 4.9 times 14.8. 32 squared minus that.
Okay. What? Hang on.
Because A and C are both minus, that minus number in front stays a minus because A and C cancel each other out.
Wait, so it's negative 4 times 4.9 times
No,
14.8.
it's 32 squared
Oh, yeah,
minus
minus, yeah.
4 times 4.9 times 14.8. Your calculator should have cover operational order. 32 squared minus
No,
4.
I'm using the laptop. 209, 290.08.
290.08.
Yeah,
So you got to do the square root of 290.08.
point zero
You
eight.
need to put the
So,
square root.
um,
We're going to need it in both. So
yeah.
what do you get?
Hang on.
What was the square root?
17.03173508.
3 units. 17 point.
17.032.
Okay. And we've got plus. So what's 32 plus 17.032? Or
It's negative
negative
32.
32 plus that?
The 15, but negative
It's
15.
going to be negative, right? And
0.03.
this, oh, but 2a is going to be negative. So negative, that, no, we got to use a calculator for that because you're not going to have 0.032. So take 17.032 and subtract 32.
Wait, negative 32.
No, just take, okay, you do it that way.
Um, negative 14.968.
Negative 14.968.
68.
Okay, now we got to divide it by 2 times a, which is 2 times minus 4.9.
Yeah.
What's that divided by 2 times minus 4.9?
Negative
No, it shouldn't
1.5.
be negative, but I'll just change it. 2 times negative 4.9 is negative, and you've got a negative numerator. So negative
Oh, yeah,
numerator.
I'll accidentally put in times
That's
positive.
fine. So you got what? What's the number?
Oh, I deleted it.
Oh, you're going to have to do it again. Negative 14.968 divided by 2 times negative 4.9. Actually, you're going to have to put the 2 times negative 4.9 in a
It's
bracket.
5. And I messed up again.
Now you got to put a bracket in the bottom because otherwise
Yeah.
it'll divide by 2 first.
Why does it?
Why? Because the numerator doesn't know. It doesn't know if you want to divide the 2 first.
No, like for some reason I type. It keeps getting rid of the multiply.
So you got to. Well, yeah, it does. It just shows you the bracket after you hit bracket. And then when you hit equals, it brings it back. So you got to do a negative version of that. And I don't know if it'll let me just press negative. No, it won't. So I got to just do it.
Oh, yeah, it's positive 1.5273.
Okay, positive 1.25.
1.52.
Positive 1.52. Now this other one is negative 32 minus 17 points. That's a little
Well,
bit
it's actually
easier.
1.53 if we're rounding up.
Okay. This other one's easier. It's actually negative 49.032, like this,
Yeah.
divided by 2 times negative 4.9, like that, in brackets. So you got 49.032 plus minus divided by, open bracket, 2 times 4.9.
5.003.
Shouldn't be 5, should it? Because essentially divided by 10. Oh, mate, you might be right. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, why do you have
No,
14 dividing it
You're
first?
right. You're right. So
Yeah.
you got what? How much?
5.003.
5.003. Explain these two values for me. Notice they're not even, so we had to do quadratic.
Yeah.
What are these two values?
These are the two values where the y value, well, these are the two x values where the y value is above 50 meters.
Right. And obviously this one's smaller, so it's on the way up.
Yeah.
And this
And
one
this one is
here
on the way.
on the way down. How would I describe that as something with x in the middle is smaller or equal to something? How do I do
Okay, so 1.53 smaller than x, smaller than 5.003.
right? Then how do I do that in, I'm not going to ask you to do it in absolute values because that's mean. And if your teacher does, he's a bit weird. But I will ask you to do it in notation,
Interval
interval
notation.
notation.
So 1.53 comma
And
5.003.
you can see why they went to interval notation because you don't have to write that part,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
right? Even when it's on this side,
I guess it saves a bit of time, but
you put the infinity thing when it's on this side. But it's
yeah,
very important for you to understand what part of the graph we're studying and what graph we're studying. I didn't
yeah,
get that last question. Whatever, the caterpillars can go fuck themselves. But this one is clearly uh, an easy one to solve, and it was clear as you spotted right there. We had to use the quadratic equation.
yes.
So they're obviously making you pull in all your tools at the same time.
Yeah, so this chapter just feels like a melting pot because the actual content itself of this section doesn't isn't actually that